Hello, and welcome back to another exciting installment of the Kevin Preston Toy Box. Today, I want to profile one of my favorite toys. It's very odd. It's a very strange and rare toy. It was made by Transogram in what appears to be the very early 60s, and it's called Operation Orbit. And here it is. It's kind of a console dashboard toy, but it really isn't. It really is a skill game. It's very interestingly conceived. Transogram was best remembered for making doctor's kits, and you might remember them as the manufacturer of the Green Ghost game and Kabbalah and games like that, Bingo and Chinese checkers and things of this nature. But they made a couple of battery-operated toys. This, to me, is by far the most interesting one. I bought this several years ago as a old store stock toy that had never been played with. Unfortunately, and here's the box behind it right here, Operation Orbit, the electro-guided space toy. And unfortunately, the top was not sealed, and spray paint or something had dusted in and down and kind of marked the top of the globe, if you will, with white flecks that I was able to scrape off some of them, but not all of them. But regardless, it's a beautiful toy. I love the colors. I love the work on it, and I'm going to take you through it. The other fascinating thing about this toy is, it was brought out in the early 60s when everything about our culture was wrapped around the space race and about, going into space and things of this nature. And this toy is no exception, and it's got almost that cartoon sort of interpretation of the rotating planets here in those great 60s colors. They almost remind me of those ball signs that you would see in stores, those satellite signs, and it's just gorgeous color. The one planet is pink, the one is green, and the one is blue, and they're kind of faded, but they're still really neat. And then this little armature is a little rocket that spins around. And what the idea is that the rocket spins around one axis and the planets spin around in another. And then what you try to do is pick up a little magnetic rocket and then spin it around and get it on one of the counter-rotating planets, which each one you'll see has a little circle on it, which is a magnetic area that you can drop that little magnetized rocket on. And it sounds simple. It's extremely difficult to do. It started off with a mechanical timer right here that runs the course of it and shuts it off after a couple of minutes, and you try to get all three of your rockets on the three planets in that time. The real interesting thing about this Operation Orbit game is it was brought back out several years later by Transogram as Moon Landing, because by then the space race had moved to going to the moon and landing on the moon. So you notice the lunar module picture on there, all this sort of stuff on the front box cover. And it's a side-loading box versus a top-loading box, and they have this wonderful art and photo picture on it where they've redone it. But guess what? It's essentially the same toy. Here it is. I've got a version of this, Transogram Moon Landing. And they changed the color of the planets a little bit, and the rocket spinner right here is white instead of black, and the control handlers are white instead. And the pictures, the way they're put on here, are a little different. This is North America and this is South America, are a little different, but it's basically the same toy. And it's interesting how they relabeled it Moon Landing, and instead of calling it rocket transport, they're calling it spacecraft. But aside from that, it's almost the same toy, a little different colors, what have you. This one, unfortunately, doesn't work. There's a little wheel inside that turns this, and I've misplaced it somewhere. It needs to be re-rubberized, the base that this spins on, and then I lost the wheel component. It's around somewhere, which I kick myself. I'm usually very good at that. So it's around somewhere, and eventually we'll get this one moving again. But this one, the original one, does work. So I'm going to borrow, it didn't come with the little rockets. So the Moon Landing did. These are the rockets inside the package, just these little plastic tip metal things. There's supposed to be 4 of them. I only have 2 between the both of them. So I'm going to give you a demonstration of how this works with the one that does work here. I'm going to back this up a little bit and we'll go from there. Okay, so what you do is you start out by loading your little rocket in this little rocket chamber here, which is kind of cool. And I don't know if you can see it. Watch this little ramp area right here is the rocket. You push this forward right here, the rocket will load. I don't know if you can see it. I'll show a close-up in a moment. In this little area. And then when you turn the timer on, this rocket pickup will spin around and these planets will spin around. And of course what you want to do is pick up this little rocket cartridge with the magnet on the end of this and get it on one of these planets. And it's a lot harder than it looks. You can control how fast this arm spins and the altitude of this arm with these two controls. Okay, so what you do is scoop down. Oop, I missed it and went back in the hole and get back up there. You try to scoop down. Pick up your rocket. There you go. See it? See how I got it there? And try to get it on one of these planets. Oop, just missed it. It really is an exercise in coordination and timing, and gives you an idea in a very odd way. I almost got it. You know, how you've got to really time things using math to time orbits, because you certainly can never do it manually. There we go. Got it. So you see that handoff? One rocket away. There's the rocket on the planet. And here is a close-up of the rocket transport.
This has been Operation Orbit from Transogram.